50 years ago, a meteor crossed planet Earth, emitting a mysterious green energy. At that moment, a group of friends are having a race, with the finalists being Inferio and her older brother Anton. As soon as the race begins, Anton takes the lead, but Inferio does her best to catch up. Seeing the girl approaching, Anton activates a saw and cuts her bike in half, causing his sister to fall in the middle of the track. The race seems to be decided, until the girl sees a mist coming from the meteor and entering her body. Being controlled by an unknown force, Inferio manages to put the pieces of her bike back together and gets back into the race, pedaling faster than ever. As Anton nears the finish line, his sister rushes forward at full speed and pushes his bike into a hill. As a result, the boy spins out of control and crashes into the garage door, with his friend Olaf rushing to help him. However, Inferio appears stronger thanks to the power of the meteor, and says that from now on, his brother must obey her orders. Nowadays, Anton has become a scientist and his new invention is a machine capable of absorbing the energy of the meteor that gave his sister her powers. According to his calculations, the meteor passes the Earth every 50 years and, if all goes well, he will finally be able to take revenge on Inferio. Speaking of her, his sister has become a supervillain, who wears a technological suit to hide her identity and uses her powers to commit crimes. However, Anton believes that all of this is about to come to an end, as the meteor gets closer and closer to the planet. In the meantime, a boy called Will is looking forward to the birth of his younger brother, Charlie. While he waits, he records his life in videos, showing his mother, a book writer, his policeman father and his older sister, Wira. In addition, the boy is a fan of superhero comics and tells us about his routine at school, where he is tormented by a trio of bullies. Fortunately, his father usually saves him on these occasions and works hard to fight the city's criminals. His latest case involves a masked villain, but despite his best efforts, the policeman has yet to discover his identity, which is none other than Inferio. The next morning, it's time for Charlie's birth and the whole family rushes to the hospital. In another part of the city, Anton and Olaf are waiting for the meteor and, as soon as they see it cross the sky, the scientist tries to activate the machine to absorb its energy. However, the device doesn't work and, for some reason, the meteor changes direction, passing in front of one of the hospital windows. At that moment, Will and his family celebrate Charlie's arrival and let him rest in his crib, without realizing that the baby has just absorbed the meteor's energy. Back at the laboratory, Anton is furious that his invention has failed and now he has to wait another 50 years. However, he has another idea and decides to modify his machine so that it can absorb Inferio's energy and become the new supervillain. The next day, Will waits for his father to pick him up from school, but hours pass and there is no sign of him anywhere. The boy is then forced to walk back, when he comes across the trio of bullies who, seeing the boy alone, beat him up in the middle of the street. When he gets home, Will has a black eye and asks why his father is late, but everyone is busy looking after Charlie. To make matters worse, when he goes to his room, Will discovers that his things have been taken to his father's old office, with his room now belonging to his younger brother. All this attention given to Charlie makes Will uncomfortable and, being a newborn, he can't even play with his brother. The boy then goes to complain to his parents about this and doesn't notice when the baby starts to move the toys, using the power of his mind. When night comes, Will goes to sleep on a mattress in the office and ends up knocking a note off the wall about the case of the masked thief. Unable to sleep, the boy starts organizing the papers and finds a pattern between the crimes, revealing the next place to be robbed. Will then rushes to tell his father everything, but he's too sleepy after spending the night with Charlie. Disgusted, the boy gets his things together and decides to go out and investigate the crimes on his own, but on his way out, he finds his mother carrying Charlie in a baby carriage. She says she has to work on her book and so Will is forced to take his brother for a walk. Meanwhile, Anton has just modified his machine, transforming it into a chair capable of absorbing the powers of a superhuman. He intends to test it secretly on Inferio, but his sister turns up at the lab soon afterwards, saying she has discovered a new superpower. She then gives a demonstration and activates a force field, capable of shrinking any object. The problem is that Inferio ends up hitting the machine created by Anton and now it's too small to be used. Far away, Will takes Charlie to the warehouse where the next crime will take place and, on entering, he finds a group of guys dressed as waiters, stealing electronic products. The boy tries to record everything on his cell phone, but Charlie starts crying, attracting the criminals' attention. Will tries to hide his brother among the containers, but they are spotted by one of the bandits, who tries to capture the baby. To his misfortune, Charlie uses his powers to take the guy up to the ceiling and then drops him to the ground, his body contorted. His cronies go to see what has happened, but the baby awakens more superpowers. emitting light from his body and using magnetism to pull out the bad guy's machine guns. After that, another thief appears and tries to take the baby, but he fights back, unleashing a freezing blast into his face. He tries to get away, when the last member of the gang sees the super-powered baby and rushes towards him with a forklift. Once again, Charlie manages to get rid of the guy easily, throwing the forklift away and sending all the thieves on their way. When the confrontation is over, Will is amazed at the abilities of his brother, who has somehow become a superhero. Far away, Anton is still frustrated that his plan has failed, when Infurio's henchmen show up at the lab. They say that they have been attacked by a being with superpowers, which appeared to be the size of a baby. On hearing this, the scientist suspects that the meteor's energy has ended up in a newborn baby and sets off to the hospital to prove it. In the meantime, Will takes his brother back home, when he realizes that the baby can already talk. To prevent his parents from finding out about his powers, the boy hurries to take Charlie to his room. Once there, Will uses his knowledge of comic books to teach Charlie what it means to be a superhero and why he should keep it a secret. At first, Will is curious to list his brother's powers, but before he can, the baby falls asleep in his crib. Although he's excited by the idea of having a superhero brother, the boy is jealous that he has no powers and will therefore only be a support for Charlie. While he thinks about this, the boy starts to fantasize about his favorite superhero, Flying Muscle. The character advises him to use Charlie's powers to fight crime, while taking all the credit for himself. Will agrees to the idea, and the next day, after breakfast, the boy takes Charlie to the top of the building, where the two will set up a secret base. In addition, Will gives his brother a shirt with the letter S, which stands for support, while he wears one with the letter M for master. Finally, Will tells Charlie to show off all his powers, but the baby is hungry and starts crying. The brother quickly pulls a bottle out of his backpack and gives it to the baby, unaware that, in another building in the neighborhood, Anton is watching the two of them through binoculars. After Charlie has eaten, Will asks him to show him his powers, when he sees a truck arrive that looks just like the one he saw at the depot. The boy decides to chase after the vehicle, but on the way he runs into the trio of school bullies. They try to beat up Will again, but Charlie gets out of the baby carriage, grabs the leader's nose and starts slamming him against the ground. The others get scared of the child and run away, which only makes Will even more impressed with his brother. After the fight, the garbage truck is already out of reach, but Charlie puts Will in the cart and pushes him with his strength and speed. After a long chase, the two brothers manage to climb into the truck and end up in a secret base. Inside, they try to hide, but the vehicle goes through a passage, which is soon closed by an electronically locked door. Will doesn't believe they're going to open it, but Charlie uses his strength and easily breaks down the door. Once through the passage, the brothers find several combat weapons, as well as combat exoskeletons. Will suspects that the thieves are stealing weapons and technology, but he still doesn't know why and continues searching when he finds an underground laboratory. As it's a dark place, Charlie gets scared and asks his brother to come back, as he misses his parents. Will says they can't leave yet, but his brother is only a baby and once again starts crying loudly all over the place. The sound of crying is heard by Olaf and Infurio's henchmen, who find the two brothers and set off after them. With Charlie in his arms, Will runs desperately in search of the exit, when he finds a ladder inside a ventilation pipe. He climbs as fast as he can, with the criminals right on his tail. Fortunately, the two reach the end of the ladder and end up in the manhole of a basketball court, but there's no time to lose and they hide behind a dumpster. Thanks to this, the brothers manage to lose the bad guys, who soon give up the chase and head back to base. Now that they're free of them, Will calls his father to come and pick him up, but Charlie says he's hungry and starts crying again. The boy then remembers a game his parents used to play when he was younger and starts tickling his brother. Despite the difficulties of being an older brother, seeing Charlie smile makes Will happy and brings him closer to his little brother. A few minutes later, the boy's father arrives with the car, but he is now wearing new combat armor. Even with their previous failures, the police station decided to give him one more chance to catch the masked thief and test the weapons of the police's new supplier. In addition to the armor, the policeman received a powerful technological weapon, which has a security device against criminals. On the way, he receives a call from the police that the thief has been spotted at an amusement park. As soon as they arrive at the scene, Will offers to help catch the thief, but as before, his father doesn't listen and tells him to stay in the car. The policeman then sets off alone to confront the villain, and Charlie notices that his brother is sad at having been left out. To comfort him, the baby says he's proud of the boy and hopes to be as intelligent and determined as him. Will is happy about this and feels sorry for having planned to take advantage of his brother. He tries to tell Charlie the truth, but they hear on the police radio that the thief has planted a time bomb in the park. Fearing that his father and other people will get hurt, Will decides to go there to help, but Charlie refuses, as his father has told them both to stay in the car. Will, however, goes anyway and arrives just as his father is trying to confront the masked robber. The policeman decides to use his gun, but realizes that he has left it inside the car. He then rushes to get it from the car, only for the man to forget the gun's defense mechanism and end up being electrocuted by it. Charlie sees his father unconscious and tries to wake him up, but instead of using his powers, he bites his father's finger with his baby teeth. The plan works and the policeman thanks his son for waking him up just in time. He also realizes that Will isn't around, but he has no time to lose and, gun in hand, he rushes to stop the masked thief. On his way back to the park, the policeman points his gun at the criminal and unleashes a blast of energy, pushing the villain away. The shot causes the masked man to be pushed against several chemical toilets, which begin to collapse and one of them falls right on top of Will. The policeman then removes the mask from the criminal, who turns out to be Olaf, Anton's assistant. Now that he has been apprehended, all that remains is to deactivate the bomb and, with less than 20 seconds to go until it detonates, the policeman stops the countdown and saves the entire city. His heroic act makes the TV news and the policeman thanks Charlie for waking him up at the decisive moment. As for Will, the boy manages to get out of the bathroom, but he's covered in dirt and his photos are spread all over the internet, making Will a joke in the city. In Anton's lab, the scientist reads about the bomb in the park and discovers that it was all a hoax set up by Inferio. She used Olaf to impersonate the masked thief so that the police would arrest the wrong criminal, while she finished preparing her final coup. Despite this, Anton sees an opportunity to thwart Inferio's plans when he sees Will's photos. One morning, the scientist follows the boy home from school and tells him he can help him stop being a joke and become a hero, handing him a card with his address on it. Will doesn't pay much attention to the guy and, when he gets home, he sees his family celebrating his father's promotion for having caught the masked thief. However, Will knows that this isn't the real criminal and tries to warn everyone, but no one believes him. Frustrated, Will goes to Charlie's room and leaves his backpack on the floor, while he tries to uncover the true identity of the masked thief on his own. Lost in his thoughts, he doesn't see his brother using his telepathic powers to see what's inside the backpack. To Will's misfortune, the baby finds his notes in the notebook, talking about taking advantage of his brother's powers for his own benefit. Charlie is hurt by his brother and, with his powers, he kicks him out of his room and doesn't want to hear from him anymore. Not knowing what to do, the boy climbs up to the hiding place on the roof, when he again fantasizes about the image of the flying mussel. The hero tells the boy that he mustn't give up on his plan and, even without Charlie, he can still count on the help of the scientist he met in the street. Seeing Anton's card, Will decides to go to the address indicated and finds him living in a trailer. The scientist is happy to see the boy and says that he can help him transfer his brother's powers to him, but first he has to give him a potion that he created. This potion has been put in a bottle and Anton says that with it, the baby will become temporarily weak. Although unsure, Will agrees and, with the bottle in hand, he returns home and gives it to Charlie. After that, the brothers fall asleep and, when he wakes up, Will goes to check on Charlie, but notices that he's not feeling well and can't even speak. Regretting what he's done, the boy gets on his bike and sets off to find Anton and ask him to undo the potion. At the same time, his family is going to a party to honor the policeman for his heroic act. In addition, the owner of the new arms supplier will be there to get the policeman to sign a document authorizing the purchase of more weapons for the police station. Back in Will, he arrives at Anton's trailer and demands that the scientist undo the potion he gave his brother. However, he refuses and leaves the boy trapped in the trailer, saying that he will go after the baby to absorb his powers. The scientist then leaves, disguised as a chauffeur and driving off in a limousine to take the boy's family to the event. Seeing that he has to save them, Will manages to escape through an opening in the roof and sets off on his bike in search of the limousine. As soon as he finds the car, the boy calls out for his family, but Anton sees everything and reverses the limo, crashing into the bicycle and knocking Will to the ground. He then runs over and drives off, with Charlie by his side, weakened by the potion. When all seems lost, Will sees the trio of bullies, but instead of beating them up, they give him the bike to save his brother. The boy thanks them for their help and sets off at full speed to save his brother, but when he arrives at the venue, the receptionist prevents him from entering. Meanwhile, Anton leaves the family inside and says he'll take Charlie to his father's for the performance. Will sees the guy taking his brother through the window and tries to find a way in, when he finds the kitchen window open. Inside, he sees Anton putting Charlie into the machine and, as soon as he activates it, a green liquid starts to come out of the other side. The The process ends and Charlie is left without his powers, with the scientist about to drink the liquid and become the newest supervillain. However, before he can, Inferio appears in the room and asks what his brother is doing. Anton tries to disguise it by saying that he's just testing a new invention, and Will takes advantage of the fact that they're both distracted and exchanges the container with the liquid for a cup of coffee. The argument continues and Anton decides to take the cup from the machine and drinks it, announcing to his sister that he has also become a superpowered being. The scientist then attacks her with a punch, but he soon realizes that he is still weak and Inferio fights back, leaving her brother locked in a room. After this, the villain leaves and Will prepares to take his brother away, when he sees the cup containing the liquid with the powers. At first, the boy is tempted to drink it and become the new superhero, but he realizes that Charlie, without his powers, can't talk like he used to. Will then remembers all the times the two of them spent together and how they became closer thanks to his powers. With that, the boy puts his selfishness aside and gives Charlie the liquid to drink, but the baby is still weak. Things only get worse when he hears that the event is about to start and soon his father will sign the paper authorizing the purchase of the weapons. Suspecting that this is another plan by the masked villain, the boy rushes to the venue and takes the document, threatening to tear it up right there. His father asks why Will is doing this and the boy tells him that the whole event is a farce set up by the real masked thief. The policeman then asks who he is and, to everyone's surprise, Will points to the owner of the arms supplier. As expected, everyone finds this absurd and starts laughing at the boy. Once again, Will feels humiliated, but he sees a button hidden in the woman's belt buckle and, by pressing it, he activates the mechanism of Inferio's technological suit. With her identity revealed, the villain decides to take revenge and captures the boy, flying him into the sky. As soon as he has traveled a long distance, Inferio releases Will into the air, but just when it looked like it would be the end of the boy, Charlie appears and, with his powers back, he flies up and saves his brother just in time. Despite this, the villain still doesn't want to give up and calls the baby to a duel, with Charlie accepting the challenge and punching the woman. A fierce fight breaks out in the skies and the two head for the rooftops, where they grab the bells of a church and start attacking each other with them, as if they were swords. In a surprise attack, Inferio throws the bell at Charlie, but the baby creates a portal, causing the bell to come back at the villain. She then changes tactics and captures Charlie's parents, throwing them away, but the baby saves them by creating force fields to protect them. However, Inferio takes advantage of Charlie's distraction and fires a laser beam, pushing the baby back into the kitchen. Inside, the villain prepares to deliver the final blow with her shrinking ray. What she didn't count on is that Anton manages to get out of the room and throws a steel tray, causing the shrink ray to reflect back towards Inferio. Despite being the size of a toy, the villain still has her powers and directs the rays at her brother. Just then, Will sees the power-absorbing machine and picks it up to use it against Inferio. Charlie soon understands what his brother intends to do and, with his super strength, he pushes Inferio towards the machine and Will activates it, absorbing all the villain's energy. With the villain defeated, the police lock him in a box, while the rest of the guests congratulate Will and Charlie for saving the day. At the same moment, Anton tries to take the liquid with his sister's powers, but Will stops him, saying that superpowers should only be given to those who deserve them. Finally, Charlie uses another of his powers, hypnosis, and erases everyone's memory, except Will's, of everything that happened. Thanks to this, no one remembers that the baby has superpowers and the two brothers can return to their normal lives. A few days later, Will helps organize an event to present the new book written by her mother about Charlie, a baby with superpowers. She has no idea that the story is based on real events and the book soon becomes a huge success. As for the brothers, they are closer than ever and are now fighting crime, thanks to Will's intelligence and the powers of the city's new superhero, Super Charlie.